Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Season 1 finale, Episode 20 of the Before I Go podcast. If you have ever sat on the edge of your bed and asked yourself, how did I get here? You have to know this one thing. Your present life, your present circumstances are a direct result of every single decision you have ever made up to this point. And if that is true, and it is, then it must also be true that your future will be determined by every single decision that you make today. I remember years ago there was a television show on the air called Survivor. And the premise of the show was simple. It was that a group of people are put in challenging situations and they have to figure out how to survive. I don't know about you, but isn't that how most of us get through this thing we call life? Isn't life just a series of challenging situations, and we have to figure out how to navigate our way through these situations in order to survive? Some situations are more challenging than others. Some situations we face with other people, and some we have to face alone. And if you are a woman of color in this country, then maybe, just maybe, survival is all you know. I have faced a lot of situations in my lifetime that have propelled me into survival mode. About 30 years ago, I married a man who I had no business marrying because at the time that he walked me down the aisle and said, "I do," he was still married to someone else. I, of course, did not find out about this until after we got married and I became pregnant with my first child. Once this information came to light, I was propelled into survival mode. Not just my survival, but the survival of my unborn son. I was devastated by this event, but I was also pregnant, and my number one priority was the health of my child. So I buried my feelings, I buried my anger, and I buried my grief over my shattered marriage, and I threw all my energy into having a healthy pregnancy and subsequently a healthy child. I gave birth to a healthy 6-pound, 1-ounce baby boy, and while I was thrilled with my baby boy, he was the light of my life, I still had to figure out how to survive as a single mother, a Black single mother, with no formal education, and because of my pride, I refused any type of child support. Side note, ladies, do not ever let your pride allow you to walk away from the bag. So, after 7 weeks, I went back to work, put my son in daycare, and we survived. After 2 years, I met my second husband, and after 5 months of dating, he asked me to marry him, and 5 months after that, we were married and living in a new city where I didn't have a job and I didn't know anyone. My husband was a sailor and assigned to a ship, so he was oftentimes deployed, and I once again had to figure out how to survive. I found a job, I put my son in daycare, and we struggled, but we survived. Shortly after that, I became pregnant and gave birth to my second child. I was 30 years old, married to a younger man. I had a 4-year-old and an infant. I was living in a city with no friends or family and a husband who was gone all the time, and when he was home, I felt like I was raising him as well. That was my choice, so when I sat on the edge of my bed in the throes of depression asking myself, how did I get here? I already had my answer, but I still needed to survive. Once again, my feelings and needs got buried because I had no time to deal with them. I had a household to take care of because we needed to survive. Year after year, I was in survival mode, always working to put food on the table, to keep the lights on, to keep the kids clothed, stretching each paycheck until it couldn't be stretched anymore. Back then, before we had direct deposit, I had to play the race the check to the bank game. Do you know that game? It's when you know you're getting paid on Friday, but you need groceries on Wednesday, so you do your grocery shopping and you pay with a check, hoping that it won't get to the bank until you can deposit your paycheck. That is what I did to survive. Survival was normal. I didn't know any other way. Now, if you're in a relationship and you're both working to survive, then you can make that relationship that much stronger. You're both working toward a goal and you're more likely to reach that goal together. However, I was in a relationship where I was the only one working on our survival. We didn't have the same goals, so we couldn't work together, and eventually the relationship ended. So here I was in my late 30s, divorced twice, raising 2 children on my own. Survival mode once again, but by this time, survival was all I knew, so I just powered through. I worked full-time in corporate America and slowly but surely worked my way up to a 6-figure salary. I had more money at the end of the month instead of more month at the end of the money. I didn't feel like I was on a hamster wheel anymore. I felt like I could breathe. I had successfully moved from surviving to thriving. And I'm proud to say that during this time, both my children graduated from high school, went on to graduate from college, and are successful in their careers of choice. And I am now a grandmother. We survived. So what now? What's next? That's the question that I kept asking myself. I had this feeling inside that there was something more, that I was meant to do more than just survive, that I had something that I was supposed to share with someone. That is why I'm here, not only today, but on this earth, to help you see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and baby girl, it is not an oncoming train, that you are not meant to only survive this life, but to thrive. What does that mean? Thriving means that you no longer show up in the world from a place of lack. You understand that the world has unlimited possibilities and that you can do anything that you set your mind to. It means that you don't have to settle for less than what you deserve. It means that you are no longer afraid of what the future holds. To thrive means to accept who you are, and you surround yourself with people who also accept who you are, and you decide to freely walk in your truth. Thriving means that you believe it when God said that you will have a life and you will have it abundantly, not barely and not scarcely, but abundantly. Some of you are in survival mode right now and you cannot see how you are ever going to get out. Moving from surviving to thriving starts with one simple thing: belief. You have to believe that you can make a change in your circumstances. Belief is a powerful thing. Every extraordinary thing that happens starts with belief. The next step is to take action. And it does not have to be a huge life-altering action either. It can be something small, but do something every single day that will move you closer to your goal. The third thing you should do to move from surviving to thriving is to ask for help. We are not meant to walk this life alone. God has placed people in your life for a reason, and whether you believe it or not, people actually want to help you. They're just waiting for you to ask. Look, I was in survival mode for a long time, probably a lot longer than I should have been, but that was because of the choices that I made. I spent way too much time in my life believing that I knew every damn thing and wouldn't ask for help. Seriously, what 26-year-old single mother turns down child support because of pride? Who does that? What 28-year-old woman marries a man who is barely old enough to drink after dating him for 10 months and moves to a city where she doesn't know anyone and has no support? Trust me, I have absolutely no regrets because I have learned so much and my life is what it is because of those lessons. However, I can look back now and recognize that my choices kept me in survival mode longer than I needed to be. But guess what? Just like I made poor choices, I decided to make better ones. You can make better choices too. If you want to change your circumstances, you have to make a decision that says that you are tired of just surviving and you are ready to thrive. How much longer are you willing to stay in survival mode? It is time to thrive. Well, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening and hanging around for an entire season of this podcast. I honestly wasn't sure how many of these I would do, but it seems that I have quite a bit to say, so stay tuned. But before I go, let me share this with you from Dr. Maya Angelou. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. I'll see you next time.